Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we're going to take a look at the real estate market with an expert next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, as we speak, a lot is going on in the market. Stock markets around the planet are cratering right now, so it's created some anxiety. On the positive side, it may fuel more momentum for the Fed to start lowering interest rates. And I'm convinced, and we'll hear from my next guest to confirm this, I'm convinced that a lot of people have been sitting on the fence. They've just been waiting for permission to make that home sale. Joe Atkins is in studio. He's with Joe Atkins Realty. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, what's your experience? I mean, obviously, with interest rates being in the 5s and 6s now, is that right?
As of today, I mean, I'm pretty sure you're seeing some 5 handles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, but so many people have been kind of sitting on their wallet because, if you are locked in at a 3 or something like that, you're not going to move up. What are you seeing on the front line?
This summer has been sluggish. I mean, we're at all-time high prices, and we're, give or take 1% up or down, we're kind of at a 10-year high on interest rates. So that just kind of created the perfect storm to where a lot of people got, bounced out of the market from an affordability standpoint.
Right. Do you believe that there's a lot of sellers and buyers that want to move? They just need permission from the media that
Sure.
it's safe to go back in the water?
Sure. I mean, people are emotional, and also people need to hear from the professionals of what's going on, and is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? I mean, we hear those questions all the time, right? And right now, especially because of the whole thing going on with the higher interest rates, obviously prices are at all-time high. And, it's like I tell everybody, look, real estate goes on no matter good markets, bad markets, ups, downs. Like when people have to buy or need to buy a house, need to move, life happens, you buy a house.
Right.
Same thing with selling a house. So, I always say you never let that get in the way of what you need to do for your family and for your needs.
And one of the things I love about Joe is he's seen several cycles of the real estate market.
Sure.
You started in 2007.
Yes.
And if memory serves, by 2008, we were hitting a brick wall. So how many months did you have of a good market?
I saw 10 good months, and then it kind of went off a cliff back then.
Yes.
And I had to just kind of, trudge along there for a good 2.5 years, which is, what I always look at, and I'm thankful for, because Jeff, that was toughest market I'll probably ever see in my lifetime. I mean, most people in real estate, and it taught me a lot. It taught me how to, persevere, how to really engage and work my database and network, and it just had me, become a more well-rounded realtor.
Yes. And I always say, anybody can sell homes during the good times. Absolutely. And so it can be healthy for an industry to have some people drift away. The people who watched $1 Million Listings and say, man, that's easy. I could do that.
Yes.
Are you seeing that in your own industry, that some realtors who were selling a home or two a year have just kind of vanished?
Sure. I mean, rates have now been up for, I think we're going on 18 months now where rates have been elevated. And, it takes a professional to know how to navigate through changing markets. Yes. And if you were just in this, for the quick,
right?
Hey, I'm a, like you said, I'm a hairstylist, but I also sell real estate, or
right.
This is a professional. This is a career, and if you're going to be a professional, it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of hours put in to be the best at your job.
Absolutely. We're going to pull up his website because he's built a very successful practice. And as we scroll down the website, let's talk about different markets within DFW. Because
sure.
When you talk about DFW as a whole, it's hot. Are there places in DFW where you're really seeing a lot of stuff move?
It's still the current market. There's still plenty of movement if you're priced right, you show well, and you're marketed correctly.
Yes.
I think that's the thing that people forget is, look, we have houses, listings that we still get full price offers on.
Right.
Because our sellers did and listened to the path of what we told them to do to make their house the most marketable. Therefore, I always say, like, the market makes you are who you are. Like, me as a realtor broker, there's comps, things like that.
Yeah.
There's obviously things we can do to enhance your house and the marketability of it. But at the end of the day, the market tells you what you're worth.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get hung up on, well, my neighbor's house sold for X, this and that. None of that matters.
Right.
If that was a different market 3 months ago. If that was a different market a month ago, Jeff.
Right.
I mean, we're in a time now where the market changes by the week. I mean, now it seems like the day, right? I mean,
right.
What the stock, look, but I'm sure the stock market last I saw was down about 1,000 points on the Dow.
Right.
Market was down big on Friday. I mean, we're talking about 2 days. And in those 2 days, I think we've seen a massive drop in the 10-year treasuries, which is what mortgage rates follow.
Sure.
Which rates are going to be down if the 10-year is down. So
sure. We've got some video from our library of DFW real estate, and let's talk about the fact that when the national experts talk about the real estate market, there's the national numbers and then
sure.
there's DFW.
Sure.
And last I checked, we're getting like 100,000 people moving to DFW a year.
Right.
This is a healthy market,
sure.
even in a bad year.
Absolutely. And I always tell people the worse the economy is globally and nationally usually makes things better here.
Yeah.
Because that, we're in a place where there's a healthy job market typically and available jobs. And so, the last downturn, we saw a lot of people from the Midwest, parts of the East Coast relocate here because the cost of living, no state income tax, and, just the ease of living in Dallas-Fort Worth, right? So
absolutely.
I don't think any of that changes now, given whatever kind of changing markets we're currently in.
And Joe has become the expert that the media turns to when they need a soundbite. This is a recent piece from WFAA. Let's go ahead and roll it.
All right, it is time to check on inventory because we have houses for sale back on the shelf again. In Houston, almost 4 months worth of homes on the market. In DFW, 3.5 months. In Austin, 4.5 months. And in San Antonio, almost 5 months worth of inventory. We haven't seen this much inventory since 2019 in Houston, all the way back to 2013 in San Antonio, 2012 in DFW, and since all the way back to 2011 in Austin. After many years of listing scarcity, all of a sudden, for sale signs are popping up.
When things happen in real estate, they happen fast, whether it's the shift upward or the shift downward.
Broker Joe Atkins of Joe Atkins Realty is back with me again. I've been checking in with him regularly all the way through the pandemic and beyond. And buyers, this is the first time I can remember him saying this.
I think we are 100% in a buyer's market.
And this isn't just some vibe that he's kind of getting. There's also some key data here.
This is as of Metro Texas Association of Realtors Market Watch data. You can see that there is 147 homes that have had price decreases as of today. If you would have looked at this 3 years ago, price decreases was probably close to zero.
So, even though home prices are still up there, some sellers are starting to come down a little bit because they have competition. And if your home isn't priced competitively, Atkins says you can no longer count on the showing frenzy that we've been seeing for years.
Something just fell off a cliff. And, you know, we had listings go on where typically in the first 48 hours, you're getting typically anywhere 2 to 4 showings. And we had some listings we saw that weren't getting shown at all in the first 3 days. And we're kind of like, that's interesting. Hadn't seen that in years.
Now, buyers, don't get too crazy over all of this. There are still homes that are getting multiple offers now, but even in those situations, something has shifted. Atkins was just networking with some other real estate agents who shared an experience that they've been having with recent multiple offer situations. They said even though the buyers were competing with each other for the same home, they were all coming in just under the asking price. That's very different. And so is the fact that the potential buyers opted not to get into the expensive bidding wars that we've been seeing for several years and even earlier this year. Remember those?
People were like, well, what if another house doesn't come up and then we can't afford it? Now people are like, you know what? We lose it, we lose it. We got 3 more to look at in the neighborhood, right? So I just think this is really something sellers really need to know.
Sellers and buyers should also know about big changes affecting agent commissions after a huge shakeup in the real estate industry this year. Why we may still see more of the same, though, even with those changes. That's ahead tomorrow on Daybreak. And as always, more info in my post today on my socials at Jason Wheeler TV, where we live right on the money.
And I do feel a shifting, just as you said in that piece, is that, you know, we went from that very heady time where people were doing all cash offers above the asking price. I mean, that was crazy. And that was not sustainable. I think the market got into a nice rhythm, and now hopefully the Fed starts lowering rates here in the next month and giving a lot of buyers and sellers permission to move. What are your thoughts?
You know, I think what we're seeing now, Jeff, is what I like to call a normalization of the market. You know, you're coming off of all-time low interest rates. You know, like myself, I think I'm at a 2.5% rate on my house. You know, my father was still living. He would be like 2.5%. It just doesn't happen, because I remember him talking about, you know, paying 16% and 12%, and how getting an 8% rate was just great, you know, in the early 90s. So, you know, I think that was not normal. And I think where we're going back to now is just a more baseline for a normalization of the market. And I think with that, we might see some price decreases. I mean, we're seeing price decreases, but I'm thinking values might come in a little bit as well. And you know, people hate to hear that, but it's not a bad thing, because at the end of the day, where we were headed was not sustainable. And I've been saying that since, I don't know, 2022, that, you know, when prices were going up 10 to 12% a month there for, you know, a few months there, I was like, this is not sustainable. And so I think with rates, you know, normalizing, I think being in that, if we can get somewhere between 4.5% and 6%, is great. And I think that'll, you know, open the doors for a lot of people to be able to afford to buy homes. Prices come in a little bit, that opens more doors for people to get into homes. And I think it just gets back to an even playing field for buyers, sellers, and us in the business.
Outstanding. Well, we're almost out of time. So, Joe, final thoughts. What would you like to leave people with?
Really just, you know, like I always say, in real estate, nobody can predict the market. And real estate, I always say real estate happens fast, whether it's the market's going up fast or if it starts to come down fast, it typically happens fast. So don't ever be one to try to time anything. Just if your family needs are, you know, needing to, you know, buy a house, expand your house, whatever it is, do what's best for you. I mean, that's what I tell everybody. I mean, don't try to, you know, be one of those people that, oh, well, I'm going to just wait. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people waited when rates were low, thinking they get lower, and then they went up.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so you can also see the inverse of that, waiting, where prices go up, even though rates are higher. I mean, I think if we have a big drop in rates, you're going to see a big rush into the market because I think there's a lot of people who've been on the sidelines that are just waiting.
Yes.
So that could put you back in a whole nother, I mean, in a month from now, Jeff, we could be back to where we're in bidding wars.
Yes.
And people going over ask again if rates really do come in quite a bit. So, again, don't try to time markets.
Joe, I can see why you're so successful. We're gonna end with his website, which is, of course, joeatkinsrealty.com. The great Joe Atkins. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
That's it. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.